The family are back from a short trip overseas. We left Coolmore when the temperature was about 8 degrees Celsius, which is about 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and went to Japan. Our trip was action-packed. It included a soccer game, also karaoke, which the cook really got a singing voice into, various sushi train meals, and a baseball match in Hiroshima. I was on the lookout for any craftsmen and found a father and son team carving various pieces in a market that had carvings mostly made from Japanese yew wood, YEW. And when we were in the Hakone area, we visited another craftsman who was an accredited woodworker specialising in marquetry and Japanese inlay and also secret boxes. And I think the handicraft that they are accredited to is called Yuseki, which is a wood mosaic that has been done in Japan since around the 1600s. And before we left Australia, I was interested in the secret boxes. And the first box that you see that I purchased had 12 steps before it could be opened. All the boxes are extremely well made, so it's very hard for you to find any of the joins. And I had the instruction inside the box, so it's important that I remember the combination. The second one was more challenging. Even when the maker had explained how to open it, it took the kids and I over an hour when we got back home to get it open. And the diamonds give the clue that it is somehow related to the stars. And a Google search states that it's a Cassiopeia constellation of the northern sky. And the brightest star faces north. So there's a compass in the box so that the star or diamond needs to be facing north before you can open the box. So it's a fairly challenging one. So what does this have to do with wood turning, you say? Well, the next secret box I got was in the shape of an egg. And I thought that we could turn an egg and make a secret box on the lathe. And Mr. Puzzle has a video which I'll include in the links below on this particular egg. Also in the links below I'll put the website that you can actually purchase this secret box. So I thought I'd make a secret box with the egg shape, and I thought I'd just do a prototype first, and I used some cypress wood. And the cypress wood I had used before, the local church had asked me to do a stand, and I'd used some cypress wood that I got from the local hardware, and it cracked excessively. And so what I found is I needed to turn a little bit, glue it up, turn it again, glue it up, and it took quite a while to do. So I thought that would happen again, but once I turned the egg, I found that it didn't crack at all. It was actually quite good, and it was quite a nice grain to it. And there was a knot right on the join, which I thought I could use as part of the secret box. So part of the internal workings of the secret box, I thought I'd use a pine dowel that you'd get from local hardware. And I purchased it and turned it down to the right proportions, but I wasn't happy with the finished product. Of course, the pine that you get from the local hardware is fairly inferior, and so I went back and used part of the cypress wood as the inside workings, and that worked quite well. I needed a couple of small magnets and a couple of pieces of steel rods, and I had the steel rods but I didn't have the magnets, so that took a few days to come in. Well, after I got those, I spent a fair bit of time setting up the drill to drill the holes. So the next piece of the puzzle was to connect the two inside rings. There was an inside ring that was cut in half, and that needed to match perfectly. So that took a little while to get it set up, drill the holes so that the rods pass through the holes and attach to the magnets, and that's part of the secret box mechanism. The prototype came up quite well, and it ended up, I got it to work, I would probably change the type of wood that I would use. I did use Cypress, which is a softer wood, but I think I'd use a hardwood, something like a yellow box or a sugar gum. It would just make it a lot more crisper. I think the mechanisms would probably work a little bit better as well if the wood was a bit harder. So this one worked quite well. It turned out quite nicely. So if I was to do it again, I would probably use a different wood, as I said, and I would probably put the inside mechanisms together differently so that I had a little bit more control of them. The way I did it, I was just worried that the rod wouldn't meet the magnet properly. It did in the end, but I just don't get any possibility of not working. I could probably change it and do it again. But this little project, what kept me awake, thinking of how I was going to do it and how the process was going to work and what steps I needed to do first before I did the second step. So it kept me awake, and also it probably put me to sleep a lot easier as well, because I wasn't thinking about work or any issues that may have been cropping up. So it was a great little project. As I said before, I'll leave a link in the description below on the video that Mr. Puzzle did on the egg, and also the actual maker. I'll put a link to his website as well. Also, at the end of this video, I'll provide some photos of our trip, just a few photos. It's a fantastic trip. It gave me a lot of ideas. I'm starting to work on the next one now, so hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll have another project that has been inspired by our Japan trip. Anyway, hope you enjoy this video. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.